July 11th, 2025. A small, humid town in southern India wakes up to something it's never seen before. Belthangadi, Karnataka outside the local magistrate's office, a restless crowd gathers, fists clutching protest signs, eyes burning with something between anger and desperate hope. Then, a black SUV slows to a stop. Cameras start clicking. Cell phones shoot up overheads. Every lens locked on one man. He steps out, surrounded by police and lawyers, head to toe in black, face masked, only his cold, unblinking eyes exposed. In one hand, a large duffel bag. The crowd pushes forward, but he doesn't flinch. He doesn't speak. He doesn't even look at them. Inside the magistrate's chamber, the air feels heavier. Everyone's watching, waiting. The man sets the duffel bag on the table and unzips it. One by one, he pulls out human bones. Then, in a voice so steady it feels rehearsed, he says, "I can take you to more sites, places where over 100 bodies are buried. But I didn't do this alone. I was forced." This wasn't just another case. This was about to make history. The case that would come to be known as the Dharmasthala mass burial. 1995. Dharmasthala, Karnataka. An 18-year-old named Mr. V had just landed his first real job at the sacred Manjunatha temple. It wasn't glamorous. He was a sanitation worker. His duty, to keep the riverbanks of the holy Netravati clean. His pay, the equivalent of just 30 cents a month. Still, he was proud. It was steady work. For weeks, nothing unusual happened. Then, one morning, he found something that would change his life forever. A body. At first, he told himself it was an accident. The river was deep. Pilgrims drowned sometimes, until he found another. And another. From 1995 to 1998, Mr. V kept finding corpses, some near the river, some farther away, many stripped of clothing, some with bruises. And just when suspicion was starting to take root in his mind, he was called in by his supervisor. Only this time, it wasn't to clean. He was handed a shovel and told to bury a body. When he refused, his supervisor's answer was violence and a warning: if you speak, you and your family will end up like this one. Mr. V had no choice. Trembling, he buried the corpse, and in that moment, his life changed forever. But he thought, maybe this was just once. Maybe it would end here. He had no idea. It was just the beginning. V had hoped that after that first horrifying burial, life would return to normal. But that hope was short-lived, because what he didn't know was that was just the beginning. From 1998 onward, there wasn't a single week when he wasn't ordered to dispose of another corpse. Sometimes he buried them, other times he burned them. Each time, it shattered him a little more. He stopped sleeping. He stopped feeling. But he couldn't stop, because the people behind this were powerful, untouchable. If he even thought about speaking out, it wasn't just his life on the line. It was his entire family's. So Mr. V stayed quiet and kept obeying orders. But something began to gnaw at him. He started noticing a pattern. The victims were mostly female. More women, more girls, even small children. And their bodies, they weren't drowned. They were brutalized. Strangulation marks around the neck, bruises, torn clothes, often missing undergarments entirely. Even the youngest victims showed signs of sexual abuse. It was sickening. Most of these bodies were buried near the Netravati River, where the soft, wet soil would speed up decomposition, erasing evidence before anyone could find it. But some victims Mr. V could never forget. One, a 20-year-old woman, was brought to him wrapped in newspaper. Her face had been burned beyond recognition. He was given diesel and told to burn the body. Another time, 2010, V received instructions to go to a petrol station near Kaleri. There, lying lifeless on the ground, was a girl, maybe 12, maybe 15. Still in her school uniform, but her lower body was completely exposed. It was clear what had been done to her. Next to her body, her school bag. And Mr. V. He was told to bury her with that bag in a nearby forest. Imagine every day waking up knowing you'd be ordered to destroy another soul's remains. Imagine carrying that horror for nearly 2 decades. V tried. He held on. But in 2014, he finally broke. Now, you might be thinking, wait, from 1995 to 2014, that's 19 years. Was this still happening the entire time? Yes, it never stopped. But what made 2014 different was personal. That year, someone in Mr. V's own family went missing. A young girl. And deep down, he knew. He knew she had been taken. His worst nightmare had come home. And when he found out, he was right. That she had become just another victim in the same horrific system he had served for years. That was the final straw. In December 2014, Mr. V vanished. With his family, he fled Dharmasthala, changed his name, changed his face, started over. For the next 10 years, he lived in hiding, trying to move on, trying to forget. But guilt doesn't forget. Every night, the dead came back to him. Their faces, their eyes. He would close his own eyes and see them being buried again, one by one. The regret was eating him alive. He believed that until those souls were properly laid to rest, he would never know peace. Neither would they. And so, in 2025, after a decade of silence, Mr. V came back to Dharmasthala after 10 years in hiding. Mr. V didn't just come back. He came back with a mission. He returned to one of the many burial sites he remembered, a place he had once turned into a grave. Armed with nothing but a shovel and determination, he began to dig. And what he found sent a chill down his spine. A skull, scattered bones, half decomposed, but real human. He took photographs, bagged the remains. Then he went straight to a lawyer, because this wasn't just any case. This was a case that could bring down some of the most powerful people in Dharmasthala. Mr. V and his legal team knew. The moment they filed an official complaint, his life would be endangered. So instead of walking into a police station, his lawyers drafted a formal statement detailing everything Mr. V had seen, buried, and survived, and submitted it as a written complaint. Then came July 3rd. 20 to 5, V was finally ready to speak, to reveal the burial sites, to name the perpetrators, to expose the truth. But he had one condition: anonymity and protection for himself and for his family. Because according to Mr. V, the people behind these crimes weren't outsiders. They were insiders, allegedly. Many of them were directly linked to the administration of the Manjunath temple itself, a sacred temple known across Karnataka and operated under the control of a highly respected family. When the locals of Dharmasthala heard about the complaint, they began connecting the dots. Suddenly, all those missing girls, all those unsolved disappearances and mysterious deaths over the last 2 decades, they started to make sense. Among the names believed to be victims were Ananya Bhatt and Sujanya, two girls whose tragic stories had long haunted the region. Case file: Ananya Bhatt, the medical student who never came home. Ananya Bhatt was a young medical student from MANIPAL. In 2003, she had visited Dharmasthala with friends, a simple trip. She was never seen again. Her mother, Sujata Bhatt, came all the way from Kolkata in search of her daughter. Some locals claimed they'd seen Ananya with temple staff just before she vanished. But when Sujata went to the police, they ignored her. And when she approached the temple administration, she was allegedly assaulted. The attack left her in a coma for 3 months. No justice, no answers. Until now. Today, Sujata believes her daughter may be among the victims Mr. V buried. And all she wants, after all these years, is to bring her daughter's remains home so she can finally say goodbye. 2012. Sujanya disappeared on her way home from college. The next morning, her body was found by the Netravati River. Her wrists had been tied to a tree with her own shawl. Her clothes were missing, and her private parts were filled with sand. A man named Santosh Rao was arrested, sent to prison, but in 2023, he was released. The evidence wasn't strong enough. Sujanya's family always believed he was just a scapegoat. They suspected that people tied to the temple's administration were truly responsible, and that the police had worked to protect them. It wasn't hard to believe. After all, police had failed to properly collect DNA samples. Some locals even claimed that the crime scene had been staged. Understand the scale of what Mr. V was up against. You have to understand who runs the Manjunath temple. Though the priests who perform rituals are Brahmins, the administration is handled by a single powerful family, one that has held control over the temple's vast operations for generations. According to Mr. V, some of the accused perpetrators are either part of this administration or closely connected to it. But Mr. V was done being afraid. He handed over every name, every location, every detail. He submitted everything in a sealed envelope to a senior advocate of the Supreme Court of India. His one hope, that if something were to happen to him, the truth would still come out, that the guilty would not walk free On July 11th, Mr. V appeared before the magistrate in Belthengady, covered head to toe in black, his identity protected, but in his hand, a black bag inside it, the evidence, the bones, the photographs, the written statement he spoke. His testimony was recorded, the evidence was submitted, and for the first time in decades, the case was about to move forward. A storm is brewing over the ancient town of Dharmasthala that threatens to shake the very roots of justice in India. 2 days after recording a confidential statement before the magistrate, a man known only as Mr. V stood silently with his lawyers near one of the alleged mass burial sites. He waited, hoping the police would arrive, dig, investigate, but they never showed up. He waited for hours under the burning sun, but eventually, Mr. V had no choice but to walk away, defeated. And what happened next was even more disturbing. His confidential testimony, one that was supposed to be protected by law, somehow leaked not to the press, but on YouTube, the full statement, revealing the burial locations and other chilling details, remained online for 11 hours, publicly available for anyone to see. And the police, they took no action, no investigation into the breach, no attempt to find the source of the leak. It was as if someone wanted it to be leaked, or worse, wanted it ignored. This isn't just incompetence, it's a pattern of cover-ups, missing files, and ignored evidence. And at the center of it all, the dark history of Dharmasthala, from mysterious disappearances to alleged mass graves, from victims like Sujanya to Unanya Bot. Their stories continue to haunt the shadows of this holy town. And now we are left with only one question: will this latest case bring justice, or will it to be buried? Just like the bodies allegedly hidden beneath the soil, Mr. V, yes, he confessed to being involved, maybe out of guilt, maybe out of fear, but make no mistake, he played a part in this horrifying crime from beginning to end. Now, he claims he wants to set things right, but the public doesn't see him as a hero. In fact, many believe he's just trying to save himself before the truth swallows him whole. Still, the real question is, will he be the only one punished? Or will the powerful people behind this entire operation, those hiding in plain sight, finally be exposed? Or will this man who came forward be the only one left holding the blame? Will this be just another case where the whistleblower pays the price and the powerful walk away untouched? We don't know yet. But one thing is certain: this case is far from over. These aren't just allegations. These are monstrous crimes, and, if proven true, they represent one of the darkest chapters in Indian criminal history. And trust me, cases like this, they don't just fade away. They linger, they haunt, and sometimes they explode. Closing voice over emotional, direct to audience. As of now, the mass burial case remains on hold. But the silence won't last forever. Stay close to your loved ones. Stay safe, and remember, evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it hides in temples. Sometimes in police uniforms, and sometimes in plain sight. This is Buried Truths, and I'll see you very, very soon. If you want to uncover more untold cases like this, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you're first to know when the next story drops. Good night.